So when you started this podcast, it was all about the fact that the pandemic was kind of winding down, or it felt like it was starting to wind down, and you feel like you had lost touch with a lot of people. You weren't feeling very social.
Right.
I know you very well.
You do.
I would say the strike starting really got you back out there in a way that you find to be safe enough and also has a big enough reason to get you back out there. And I feel like that's been such a good way of getting you out there, socializing you again. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like you still need the same thing you needed when you started this podcast? Or do you feel like you've found that again through the strike and other ways?
A little bit of both. I will say definitely like the podcast, like really probably would have been the smartest to start it if it had started like, early 20, like mid 2020. Like that was when like people were really locked down. But I started feeling the urge to do this podcast as people were starting to get back out there, and I was still very much like, but it's the pandemic's not over, which is still not over. But I was still in a place of like everybody else is
right now.
I believe you. So I was seeing people kind of getting out there more, and I was still like, it's really not as safe as we all are kind of acting like it is. But I do miss being social, and I like seeing that people are out there. But I'm jealous and I have FOMO, and I want to catch up with people and do these things, but I'm still more cautious than most. So yeah, the podcast was born out of that, probably later in the pandemic than most people would start a pandemic themed podcast. But yeah, the strike has changed my day to day in a lot of ways. Like I am outside around large groups of people most days. And, there are days when like, there are still days when I'm like, well, this is too crowded. I'm going to put a mask on. There are days when right now we're in a little bit of a spike that I'm reading about. So I'm probably going to be masked a little bit more out there, depending on crowd size and my proximity to them. But yeah, no, at least in terms of like seeing people and talking to people and being social, I have met more people in the last, 2-3 months of this strike than I had in the previous 2 to 3 years. Which has been good. So like in some ways, the podcast is sort of a little bit redundant in some way, like it's I'm already kind of having those conversations and relationships that I wasn't having in the middle of the pandemic.